Why did you and your family leave Syria?
So just because after a shelter in our house, and we weren't able to leave the city, and nothing was going in or out of the city where I used to live in Damascus. We just after the first chance that we got to leave the city, we did, and we left, and we just left to my parents' village, where they're originally from, and then from there, multiple problems used to happen daily. So we just decided that it's time for us to leave. So we left to Lebanon, where my grandparents were living.
Um, can you tell us how your normal life was there before the war?
It was just a pretty regular life. We owned a house. Um, Me, my brother, we used to all go to school just regularly. My father had a job. Um, yeah, it was just a pretty normal life, and I was pretty happy with it.
Can you just describe for us a normal day during the war?
Well, so during the war, the shooting would be just a regular thing that would happen daily. It would happen just 24/7. It just became a thing, just a part of living there. Um, the, yeah, and there would be like some days where there would be like no electricity, so there would be nothing to do. So we would just go to sleep at a very early hour, wake up at a very early hour. Um, School wouldn't really be a regular thing also because sometimes the school would just shut down because maybe not that many kids are going there because of the parents being scared or just because of the situation on the streets.
When and why did things get worse in order for your family to think about leaving?
Sorry, what was it?
When and why did things get worse in order for your family to
Uh,
think about leaving?
yes. So as I mentioned before, just after the shell falling in our house and us having to leave the city, when we left to the village, it was pretty hard for us, especially for my father, because it was far away for his job. There were multiple genocides that would happen. Um, we it would just be um, it was pretty hard to live because every couple of days we would need to go get out of the house where we were living in the village and just move to a safer places. And school in general, we weren't able to go to school because of the regular problems. So yeah.
How do you specifically remember the moment you left your home and your country? Your feelings, how the day was?
um, I mean, I I was still pretty young, so it was just like I was thinking about it as being as a trip. I was, you know, I was pretty young, so I was like feeling kind of happy because um, it was kind of that our parents were just telling us constantly that uh, it is that it will end soon, so we'll go back. It will just be for a couple of months, maybe maximum 1 or 2 months, but it it had just been going on. Yeah.
Um, how was your trip to Europe? What were the most complicated moments for a family of 6 members on your way here?
Um, well, the trip was completely fine. There was absolutely no complications, and that was just due to the fact that we got the chance to come to Iceland through through the UN, which which took care of the trip and everything until we got to Iceland, and then from there the government and the Red Cross were helping us.
Okay, could you develop that? Like, why and how did you end up going to Iceland?
Well, um, as we signed as being refugees in Lebanon, and the UN would give help to refugees that are legally and that are legal and signed in the UN. And some people would get chances depending on their files and their situation. They would get chances to leave to other countries that want to help refugees. And we were just a lucky family that we got chosen, um, and the destination was Iceland. Um, and I mean, it was pretty hard for my parents to decide whether we should go or not, because just because of the completely different atmosphere that might have an impact on the family. And just in general, you know, you're leaving your family, you're leaving a country where you're able to speak your mother tongue at it regularly, um, and yeah, and just the fear of certain complications that we might face and later on.
Um, how do you remember the specific moment of the arrival and the first days in Reykjavik? Is it?
Yes.
Reykjavik.
Yes, Reykjavik. Um, well, I remember when we arrived, we we met the prime minister of Iceland, with other ministers, and they were really kind. We there were also some volunteers from the Red Cross. Um, they um, they welcomed us, and I just remember it being really cold and just really different. But and then I remember getting on the bus and then leaving to and arriving to our new house, where there was what was called were called supporting families there, which are volunteers at the Red Cross, where they would just be an Icelandic family that would be able to help us in just assimilating into the society. And they helped me, for example, in like in the use of the buses here. Um, yeah, they were pretty helpful. Mhm.
How was your first day of school? How did your classmates react?
Well, um, I think it was just pretty normal. There weren't really um, there won't be, instant questions about how do you come here and things like that, because they might, I think, um, just because of the topic being sensitive. But I just remember being welcomed by everyone in the class, which I was pretty happy about.
And what about the language barrier? How complicated was it for you?
Well, I would say I'm pretty lucky because the people here, well, the majority at least, speak English, so it wasn't really that much of a problem. Um, I wouldn't really, especially that I also went to an English teaching school where I didn't really have much of a problem with it. Yeah.
It has been more than 3 years since your arrival. How is a normal day in Iceland for you?
Well, it's pretty regular. It would just be, just waking up, breakfast, going to school, um, working, and yeah, it's just yeah, and then maybe going out for there are many swimming pools here. There are many things that you can do a regular day. Yeah, it's just pretty regular.
In retrospect, what were the most difficult things of your adaptation to a new culture so far away from Syria?
Well, I wouldn't say there were that many complications that I was faced with, but um, it was just pretty hard. Like it's just a completely new, different culture from Syria. And in Syria, you have the majority, which are Muslims, and then becomes Christians, and um, it's usually like you have a religious atmosphere, while in Iceland it's just completely different. There were many new things that I was introduced to, like different sexualities, which wasn't really a problem to understand, but yeah, it,
Looking ahead, where and how do you see yourself in 5 or 6 years?
well, um, I would hopefully be done with the IB program, and then hopefully be almost finished with my studies at the universities, at the university, which I'm hoping to study engineering or something.
Um, will you consider going back to Syria now that the war seems to be near the end?
Well, um, I would love to visit my country again, but I'm I mean, I, I hope that it is near an end, but it doesn't really seem like it is, because it has happened multiple times where like um, everybody will be like it's almost finished, but then some um, some some type of a foreign force uh, would would come into um, would come into the war and would just make things worse, which is just horrible. But yeah, I would love to if if it actually comes to an end.
And finally, what message would you have for young people or families who are thinking of coming to Europe, escaping complicated situations back in Syria?
Well, I would absolutely encourage it because just because of the major complications and just of how horrible the situation is that I I have seen. I mean, I might not have seen the worst, but I can but I have an understanding of how hard it is to be living there. But I would say that um, that that if countries like Iceland um, open their doors for any refugees, they they should take the chance. Absolutely.